Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. In this video today, as the title suggests, we're talking about the K-1 Fiancé visa, and specifically we're going to be talking about those individuals who've had multiple prior filings of K-1s specifically, pursuant to provisions of statutes such as the International Marriage Brokers Regulation Act, etc. There are restrictions now on the number of K-1s that can be filed for without first obtaining a waiver based on those multiple filings. Some backstory here. In the past, and at this point, the time of the filming of this video in 2018 is the rather distant past, or the more distant past, you had situations where you would have people who basically would just bring a lot of girlfriends to the United States, and primarily these were used for female fiancés of American citizens. And one of the reasons for this is, first of all, there was this quirky situation prior to what was called the Life Act, where U.S. marriage visas for U.S. citizens were quite time-consuming to process, while fiancé visas were relatively quick. They processed relatively quickly. For whatever reason, it was just, sort of the, for lack of a better term, bureaucratic inertia associated with the processing of those different kinds of cases that resulted in, one set going quicker and another set not going quicker. I suspect part of it had to do with the fact that immigration visas based on marriage, just across the board, there's a larger number of them generally than there are fiancés, and that is because you've not only got marriages of U.S. citizens marrying foreign individuals, but you've also got lawful permanent residents who are married to foreign individuals, and you've got derivative cases based on those as well. So it's a larger pile of cases to deal with on the marriage side than it is on the fiancé side. But that being said, moving on with respect to multiple filing waivers, at the time, and I can kind of vaguely remember in my younger days, there was like a 60 Minutes or 2020 story talking about, individuals who were, basically had brought, I think in one case, a dozen fiancés over to the United States, and it turned out they didn't have the intention to marry, and they'd go back home to wherever they were from, and it was pretty clear that it was basically being used sort of as an expedited route to, I guess, just get girlfriends into the United States without the intention of marriage. Or with the implicit, like it seemed like there were those who were sort of abusing the system and didn't really intend to get married at the time they were in the United States. This came about sort of at the same time that there were issues with respect to so-called marriage brokers. In the era of social media, marriage brokering is not something that we see so much on quite as grand a scale as it once existed, but there was a time where there were firms and organizations and individuals who specialized in acting as basically matchmakers between foreign females and, in this case, American males. And as part and parcel of their service, oftentimes, they would assist in the processing of K-1 visas, whether they were entitled to or not, pursuant to U.S. law, is sort of another issue. But oftentimes, this sort of system would run part and parcel with what was being viewed as a system that was coming under a level of abuse. So as a result of that, the International Marriage Brokers Regulation Act came along and basically stipulated that in cases where there's an individual who's filed for one or more K-1s within a certain period of time prior to the filing of a current petition, a waiver needs to be sought and an explanation for the multiple filings needs to be made. And once an explanation is given, it's up to the officer in charge of adjudicating the case to make a determination whether or not the waiver should be granted for purposes of granting a K-1. There's a special provision with respect to the K-1 with respect to multi-filings for those who are filing for the same individual. And this does happen. An individual will, a couple will file for a K-1, the foreign fiancé will get to the United States and a family emergency will occur. Someone will get very ill in the family, or something with respect to a job situation pops up. Or in other cases, the American counterpart will go ahead and get a job abroad. I've seen this happen before too, where the couple will get to the United States and 1 month in of their cohabitation, the American counterpart, prospective spouse, receives a job offer to move overseas, and they say, well, let's not get married just yet. Let's move to this new location, make sure everybody is comfortable, and then we'll get married at that time. In those circumstances where, say, a family emergency or something comes up, a multiple filer waiver for a second K-1, let's say they try to use the K-1 again to come back to the United States with the genuine intention of getting married on that trip. Yes, there's still a waiver issue, but that being said, with respect to multiple K-1s for the same person, so long as there can a good explanation can be given, a valid explanation with respect to why a marriage didn't occur on the first trip, as long as an explanation on that can be given, generally speaking, a waiver is going to be issued. That being said, there's an issue of staleness with respect to multiple filings with K-1s. If one filed for a K-1 back in the 1990s, never filed for another K-1, and is now turning around and filing for a new one based on, he or she has met someone new, yeah, that prior K-1, that goes so far back, that's not really so much the issue. What I think it was designed for is specifically individuals who are abusing the system, bringing multiple individuals in the United States on K-1 fiancé visas and just using them for temporary stays, and the system was just being abused, and so they created a situation where, look, you need to go ahead and show a genuine reason why you didn't get married on the last case and why you're looking for a new one now.